So I went to a steakhouse last night, and when you pay the bill, they dump all these gold coins on it. You're like, wow, it's gold, but turns out it's only chocolate. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees are back from the dead. Finish August strong and at least put them back within an earshot of the AL East, which I kind of mentioned would happen there with a softer schedule. But we'll look at the rest of the month of September, which gets a little bit bumpy for the Yankees, but then kind of finishes it pretty smooth, so it gives them an opportunity again to maybe leapfrog the Toronto Blue Jays and get that AL East title, which they should be getting. All the money and all the players you have there, you should be better than a wild card team. But nevertheless, let's give you an update again. What's ahead for the Yankees is to finish out this final month of the regular season there, and of course, position themselves where in the playoffs again, whether in the AL East or the wild card. But of course, right now you still want to shoot for the AL East. And of course, Aaron Boone, I guess, finally heard it from the fans there, finally gave in, whether it was his decision or not. Does sit down Anthony Volpe for a few games there, kind of analyze the situation, where we think they're going to do that long term. Probably not, but at least look into that situation. And even Max Fried, who's kind of been stumbling for the most of the summer there, is kind of part of the reason the Yankees have kind of been scuffling this summer there. Seems like he's coming back at the form there, so we'll look at his last couple of starts there. Just look at the numbers there, see how he's going there. There's going to be a lot of stats and numbers for this situation, this whole episode here. Looking at a lot of players such as Cam Schlittler, who's been great for the Yankees, again, as the young gun there. Just kind of look at his numbers there, why he's been successful for the Yankees. And even Luis Gil's kind of been a bit of an afterthought. Again, 6 starts right under his belt right away. Maybe he's not really sure how he's doing there. Kind of look at his numbers right as well. And of course, as the Yankees make this final push in September, getting a little healthier, getting some players back, such as Fernando Cruz. Again, he's been back for a couple of games as well. Again, you haven't been paying attention. I'll kind of get update where he's been provided for the Yankees out of the pen there. It's been rather good so far there. And of course, the Yankees get some other names back, such as Austin Slater, Ryan Yarbrough. You might even forgot about these guys a couple of months ago. They're all coming back. So the bands are all seemingly coming back together for this final push there. So we'll get you all updated on all the stuff there. As right now, people say after Labor Day and maybe the summer's over. Now you're sort of focusing on baseball. I know football's kind of around the corner a bit, but maybe you want to start tuning in a little bit more. So I'll kind of get you updated on all that stuff. But before I get started, there's the audio podcast version of the show, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, surf the Section 420 Talkin Yankees podcast, subscribe. You're watching here on YouTube. I don't know why you haven't done it already. You've had a whole summer. You've had multiple years, multiple seasons. Today could be the difference. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're watching on TV, you got to do both. Subscribe to the audio podcast, so you got the audio version, and you like to see me, of course. We all like to see me. Subscribe to YouTube as well. Well, you may recall a couple of weeks ago, even maybe the last episode, of course, the sky was falling, the Yankees weren't playing well, and got embarrassed by Boston, even though they were able to salvage the last game there, and everyone was just kind of worried about, what about this team? What are they? I'm not kidding, maybe they'll make the playoffs, but they stink, they're lousy, not built to go the whole way, and, Hal Steinbrenner, he's not like his father, he doesn't care about winning, he just wants to sell tickets for the regular season, maybe just make his money from popcorn and like garlic fries and stuff like that, and everything's going terrible. And I kind of mentioned that, we shouldn't really give up because the schedule wasn't getting easier for them. Not going to say that was going to guarantee them to get back in the AL East at the top spot, but at least, at least get an opportunity to maybe inch their way back because the schedule was going to get softer, and that's kind of exactly what happened overall. Of course, now, look, you got 2 of the worst teams in there, but it's not your fault. Whatever teams on there in front of you, those are the teams who play, and you still got to win the games, and the Yankees doing a good job because getting that final game against Boston, then going on to win the next 6 games there against, again, I guess subpar talent there, the Nationals, of course, we know that, as well as the Chicago White Sox. Could have gotten the 4-game sweep against Chicago, did lose the final game 3-2. Okay, fine there. At some point you'll lose there. But then overall, if you look at the road series before the series against Boston there, overall, collectively, the Yankees won 9 road games, which is something they haven't done since 1998. But of course, within that Boston game and the 2 other series after that, more importantly, Yankees winning 7 games in a row. And with a little help from the Brewers, against Toronto scuffling as well. And again, the Brewers probably one of the best teams in baseball right now, able to help the Yankees out, slapped around the Blue Jays a little bit. So with the Blue Jays losing a little bit and the Yankees winning, able to inch their way back to right now. They're 2.5 games back in the AL East. Again, within the earshot, you could really, again, make that up within a week. You could be back in the top of the AL East, top standing there. So for all the complaining, for everyone to say, that this team stinks, they're terrible, they're lousy, they can only beat the bad teams. Yeah, there's some truth to that, and I'll get those stats to that in a little bit. But nevertheless, all that being said, within like a week and a half, the Yankees are able to turn the ship around like that. So that's why, again, baseball, you got 162 games, you got a long season. That's why you shouldn't go too crazy. Now, yeah, Are there things to be concerned about if this Yankee team does make the playoffs? Sure. Max Fried, is he someone we could rely on? I don't know yet. Still, the jury could be out there a little bit. And look, we have a lot of inconsistencies. You have the things like Volpe, the problems with him we'll get into. Someone like Austin Wells, who's now starting to hit a little bit more. You've seen him go with the long ball, but still, there are 200 hitters there. How are these guys going to fare in the postseason? How's Judge's elbow holding up? Giancarlo Stanton, when is the shoe going to drop? I mean, everything's been going well with him so far, even playing the outfield, which I didn't think would be happening. But does the shoe drop at some point? Does he get hurt there? So, yes, a lot of uncertainty right now. But you look at all that being said, within a couple of weeks, the Yankees are able to change around where now people feel more positive about this team, at least after the Labor Day holiday. Now, the schedule is going to get a little tougher, as I'll mention in a bit. But again, you feel much more optimistic, whereas during that Boston series, especially that second game when the Yankees just got wiped out 12-1 there, you just felt like the Yankees didn't belong in the same field with the Red Sox. Well, as you're looking right now, Yankees and Red Sox right now pretty much in the same place in the AL East, and right now both of them tie for that top spot in the wild card right now. So for everyone saying that Boston is so much better than the Yankees, yeah, maybe some things they do better than the Yankees fundamentally right now, but right now the teams are pretty much on an even playing field right now. We'll face each other again at Fenway later sometime in September, but again, the Yankees still have this whole month there to prove that they're a better team in Boston and possibly and should be a better team than Toronto there. But just getting back to the Yankees, closing out the month of August. So since August 15th, they won 12 out of the final 16 games of the month, so that was actually the best in the Major League's record there. So the Yankees, even before the White Sox National Series, have been a little trending in a little bit better place. Even though again that Boston series seems like such a massacre there, which you can understand there. But again, the Yankees closing out the month strong there, and again, as I mentioned before, winning the 7 games in a row there, which helped them at least put them back within the hunt of the AL East there. Again, as long as you're within 4 games or less, once you get a whole month to go there, you're still in great shape. Again, we've seen vice versa. The Yankees, not to have too often to them, but the Yankees could blow a lead, or the Yankees could come back there. So the fact that you're less than 3 games back in the AL East, that's not a big deal again, and you have a whole month ahead of you. The Yankees could leapfrog Toronto and then even build themselves a little lead themselves there. So again, that's not without the realm of possibility. But if you wanted to step back a little bit, you look at that Boston series at that point, which is probably one of the rock bottom points of this Yankee season. This week, the team just felt totally hopeless and helpless against Boston there. But if you want to look at that point there, of course, you can understand why Yankees fans are upset, why Yankee fans were mad to want to get rid of Boone, why Yankee fans were getting upset with Andy Volpe and booing him there. At that point there, the Yankees had lost 22 out of their previous 38 games, which is second worst in the American League. And going to get back to this whole argument of the Yankees are only good against the bad teams and struggle against good teams. Well, there is something to do with that. So at this point right now, the Yankees are 37-37. So they're 500 against teams that have a record of 500 or better. So the teams that are mediocre or better, the Yankees are basically playing 500 ball against those teams. Now, will the Yankees make their hay, where people say, hey, they're bullies, they just beat up on the lesser teams there? The Yankees are 39-24 against everyone else. So the teams that are below 500, the Yankees are 15 games over 500 against those lesser competition teams. Now, that's kind of, you can say that around baseball there, so, I don't really argue that makes sense. Yeah, you're going to struggle against the good teams, and you're probably going to beat up on the bottom feeders. I mean, that's kind of, but the Yankees kind of been doing that for a while, even back in the old days in the late '90s and early 2000s there. So I don't see how that's really any argument. It's really all about getting into playoffs somehow, playing hot baseball at the right time. And right now, the Yankees, I don't want to get too ahead of my skis there, but the Yankees are trending in a better direction. Where if you could have a good hot September, everyone starts hitting well. Aaron Judge is actually starting to pick it up. He really kind of had a quiet August, if you want to look back at that. He's starting to heat it up as well there. So you do have the opportunity to get yourself hot for September, and then getting yourself to October. That's all you really need. If you just get into October, you have 1 or 2 hot starting pitches. Just kind of, whether it's Rodon turns it on, whether Max Fried turns it on, or Cam Schlitt just takes another step and really becomes that guy, and you put him up there early as a kid. That's all you need to get into playoffs. You can buzz your way through and get to the World Series. That's all. You just have to get in there. I mean, you look at teams a couple of seasons ago, the Arizona Diamondbacks for the National League. I mean, they lost, but they at least got into the World Series at the right time. They weren't a great regular season team at all there, but if you just get in there, that's all that really counts there. So just getting back to all the stuff, Yankees don't want to win, and I'm pretty sure they want to win. I don't think Aaron Judge or even someone like Austin Wells, I don't think he goes to the place and says, well, you know what, I really don't want to win. I don't care. It's not the case there. It's just sometimes he's playing terribly, and that's what's the case. The Yankees were in a really bad funk and seemed like they're getting out of it. And the same thing pretty much happened last year. They were not good in end of June. They were not good in July, and for a good chunk of August, they weren't good. And then finally, they got a little bit better. Took Clay Holmes. I repeated this a million times. Took Clay Holmes out of the close role. Put Luke Weaver in there. the bullpen got better, and the team overall started hitting better. They had a good September, got the AL East, and of course the rest of history. Unfortunately, had to run into the Dodgers, but everything before that was pretty good. And I don't get too early unless say this team is like that team last year. Man, you do have some different players, and you don't have Soto, whether that's good or bad there. So you do have some different guys, but still, you have the opportunity to have a really good September there, and then carry that over and make a statement in October there. So again, the Yankees are in a good position. And if there is some sort of fallout, I think at the very least, they'll get into some sort of postseason. I think they should be better than a wild card team. But even if they settle for wild card to get through there, at least you put your name in the hat and to see what happens from there. As for the near future, things get a little bit bumpy for the Yankees. Of course, got a series against the Houston Astros. Of course, we know the history there. Obviously, they're always a thorn in the Yankees' side. After that, Toronto. Now, look, you know what? Maybe the pendulum swings a little bit. Toronto's smacked the Yankees around pretty much for the entire of 2025. So, hey, the Yankees owe them one. Is a situation where, maybe the Yankees find the pendulum starts swinging back to the Yankees' way, and the Yankees may start beating up the Blue Jays a little bit. And those games are crucial because if you're only 3 games or less there, maybe by some miracle you could sweep all 3. I wouldn't expect that. But even if you take 2 out of 3 there, then you're cutting down your deficit to maybe 1 or 2 games there in the AL East standing there. So, and of course, Boston Red Sox, Yankees facing them directly as well. Again, same thing. Maybe they could slap them around. Maybe the pendulum swings that way. Now, these games are going to be at Fenway, so obviously you give the advantage to the Red Sox a little bit. But still, Boston's been slapping the Yankees around pretty much for the entire 2025. You would think at some point as the pendulum swing back, now that the Yankees seem to be playing a little bit better and getting some guys back, which I'll just mention that a little bit later too, maybe they owe Toronto and Boston a little bit, where maybe the Yankees could, at the right time, could slap those teams around back there. Well, that's actually wishful thinking. And then last but not least, the Tigers. Obviously, probably one of the better teams. For the most part in the AL East, they got cooled off a little bit there, but you got school blows around the corner as well. So you got a couple of tough series. You got Houston, you got Toronto, you got Boston, and you got the Tigers. After that, things get very relaxed for the Yankees. The Yankees close out the month of September very softly. Just in the final 13 games, you got the Twins. You got the Baltimore Orioles twice, and then you got the Chicago White Sox at home. Now, the Yankees almost swept the White Sox in Chicago. You assuming the Yankees should have equally an easy time being the home team, you would think. Now, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. But still, if you look at those 4 series, again, the 4 are probably the worst teams in the American League. The Yankees got that to close the season out. You can't ask for anything better than that. So, if the Yankees just kind of hold their water, hold their own against those 4 tough series there, and just maybe if you play 500, even a game 2 under 500 against those tougher teams, and just stay where you are there, then you could really clean up against in those final 13 games against extremely subpar talent who right now, they have some call-ups. People, they're making their vacation plans. They're making their golf outing plans. It's the Yankees. Maybe they want to just be the thorn in the side of the Yankees just because it's the Yankees. Other than that, these teams got nothing to play for. They should just lay down, and the Yankees have a good opportunity to really clean house against them, and again, put themselves in a position where they should be able to get the AL East title there. But again, the Yankees, at least, as long as they don't falter too bad in those 4 tougher series there, they should give them a good opportunity to have a really strong September there. And again, the AL East right now is not out of the question. And it seems like, Aaron Boone and maybe Brian Cashman made the call. Heard the screams from the fans that don't know if they're to ever sit Anthony Volpe. Of course, been struggling mightily. Again, really hit rock bottom during that Boston series, getting some boos there. And obviously something had to be done with the guy. Look, the whole idea that people thought was going to send him to the minors wasn't going to happen. And if you're going to do that, you had to do it much early in the season. And I don't even think they should do that. Putting the minors, for less couple of weeks left in the season, him to get a few at-bats, I don't think it's going to change anything there. So it's kind of like live it and lump with it and deal with it in the offseason. But finally, did sit him down in favor of Jose Caballero, who, again, could play multiple positions. That's kind of one of the reasons the Yankees got him there. Now, look, it's only been 3 games overall that he's actually played shortstop, Caballero there. So I don't see the situation. They're probably going to still lean Volpe for the most part there. So, it is a little interesting. I think it's had to sit him down, maybe just clear his head, give him a breather, as I say, more or less. They had this a little bit last season with Gleyber Torres as well, even though Gleyber thing was more, a little bit, I think it was more punishment for some non-hustle situations. I don't think that's really been the point with Volpe. The point with Volpe has been statistically just terrible. Just one of the worst hitters in terms of getting on base and everything else in baseball there. You just had to sit him down a little bit there. Moving forward, though, probably, if I still had to take a guess, Volpe is going to get a bunch of the at-bats there. But at least he knows that, and at least the Yankees know there are other options there if he continues to struggle. Now, the only problem with Caballero there, look, it's nice. It's a new guy there. Sometimes it's like anyone else but Volpe maybe seems like a great option, but it's not exactly he's tearing the cover off the ball. Just want to look at his numbers right now. Only hitting .229, so So, all right, is that better than Volpe's 210? Yeah, but, you know, a 229 hitter, is that a great there? Now, also, another problem with Volpe also is his on-base percentage. I mean, one thing, you could have a low batting average, but if you're getting on base a lot there, you kind of make up for it. But even that's kind of putrid. So right now, for the season, his on-base percentage is .274. So it's about, you know, a little bit better than maybe 1 or 4 times at bats he maybe gets on base some way, somehow there. But we see him going through some long slumps there, going for like 0 for 25, stuff like that there. Now, as for Cabrera, his on-base percentage does a little bit better at .332. So I guess he's hitting about 60 points higher, better on base percentage there. So at least, you know, maybe his batting average is just a little bit better, but at least he's getting on base a little bit better than Volpe there. But over the long course of the season, I still think they're probably going to lean into Volpe unless Volpe has some big September meltdown there. I think at least the upside for Volpe, you wanted him to sign the fine and sort of click in there. You know, he's up to 19 home runs, so for all the bruises and bumps and annoyances you may have with him there, the guy's going to probably end up with 25 home runs there. So it's this kind of that Jekyll and Hyde part about Volpe there. But again, I just think overall for the betterment is at least keeping him in there as much as he can, just hope something snaps in with him. And we did see that last season in the postseason. During the postseason, Volpe was a much better disciplined hitter there, got on base a lot, laid off a lot of tough and bad pitches there, took his walks there. So there is the opportunity for him to recapture that. Now you would say, why couldn't he do that a little early in the season? That remains to be seen there. But I think overall they're probably going to stick with Volpe for the long term. And whether the sitting had any effect or not, hard to tell there. But if you want to look at Volpe across his last 7 games at this point there, hitting .261. So over his last 7 games, he's hitting 50 points better than his regular season average here. So that might have some effect with the 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and his on-base percentage right now is slightly higher at .280 than the season average is. So, you know, whether the Cabral being on the team, whether him being set down for a few games had any effect on him, maybe not there. But Volpe, again, at least over the last 7 games, has been hitting better there. And I think over the long term, I think Volpe is still going to have most of those starts at shortstop. And another reason for this maybe you say called the late August resurgence by the Yankees has been because of the captain Aaron Judge, who overall since he's been back from that elbow injury and rejoining the team during the Texas series, really hasn't been himself there. I mean, getting his hits there, but we haven't seen the long ball. We haven't really seen him crush the ball as much as we could there. Now, again, it leads me to believe that I just think that elbow is still bothering, which it kind of is. We all know that. Obviously, he's still not playing the field. And, you know, more recently, Aaron Boone's been pretty much reluctant to say they're going to put him, he's going to be back there soon. I mean, we even heard back during the Cardinals series that, oh yeah, he's going to start throwing, he should be back. Well, that was almost like, you know, close to half a month ago, and he still really has been playing the field there. So I just get a sense they're not going to really want to test him there. I'm going to extend himself because, again, if the Yankees are to make any push, you need Aaron Judge to be close to 100% as possible. Now, look, we know he's not fully 100% there, but finally starting to hit the ball a little bit there because, again, really overall his August hasn't been great, but again, at least he finished it decently. And if you want to go back to his last 7 games, looking more like the Aaron Judge we all know and love, hitting .320, which is about his season average around right now. I think it's like around .323. But 8 hits, 3 home runs, 8 walks, 5 RBIs, and even snuck in a stolen base there in between. So looks like he's a bit on the rise as well there, which is, of course, you know, him hitting, again, if you don't have Aaron Judge, obviously, as good as Stanton is, as hot as Stanton's been for the most part there, you need Aaron Judge to be Aaron Judge. I mean, he's an MVP type of player there. You know, is he going to have the home runs totals of some previous years? Probably not, just because he's missed a lot of time. I think he's probably still dealing with the elbow there, so he's not 100%. But you see his bat starting to come alive, especially during the White Sox series there. And also within that, tying Yogi Berra on the all-time Yankee home run list with 358. So congratulations for that there. But more importantly, you see him with the long ball a little bit, which has not been there for the most part since he's been back. Looks like maybe the elbow is getting a little better to the point there where maybe we will finally see him in the field at some point there. But you know, if the case he starts hitting well, again, I just rather not test guys. So if you want to just keep him as a DH, I'm okay with that. Now, look, I was totally wrong about the Stanton thing. I didn't think Stanton would be lasting this long. I still don't think it's the greatest idea. I don't love it, but Stanton so far been playing a decent right field, hasn't been getting hurt. You know, we all know the stuff like that there. Stanton wants to play. He likes to be out there. Feels like it makes him more involved in the game, which then helps him at the plate. So far, you can't discount that. Right now, he's hitting .295. And you ever remember him at .295 with the Yankees? I mean, he hasn't hit like this before. So he's got the average up there. He's still hitting the home runs here and there, stuff, and hasn't been getting hurt in the field. So, you know, knock on wood, so far so good. You would like at some point for Judge to get healthy, and so Stanton could be the full-time DH again. I just think at some point, you know, the piano's going to drop over his head there, but knock on wood, it's worked for the Yankees right now. But again, Aaron Judge clearly, so, you know, Probably not 100% yet. Will he ever be 100% for September? I don't know there. Will we see him back in the field? I don't know there. But at least the Yankees have to get a whole nother month out of Stanton playing right field there. Now the Yankees are going to, of course, get reinforcements. We're getting later. You have Austin Slater coming back soon. He could play right field. Of course, no Bellinger could play right field. So Yankees have some flexibility there. So Aaron Judge doesn't have to be in the outfield there. But you would still like to make sure you have Judge and Stanton bats both in the lineup at the same time. And of course, we look at the Yankees, and this is where they stumbled in the summer there. You can't ignore the coincidence that, as the Yankees have struggled since the All-Star break, has so that their ace, Max Fried, of course, the ace, Garrett Cole gone there. But it looks like Fried's kind of rounding himself back into the form a little bit the early season. I'll say he's fully back there, but if we look at his last 2 starts there, looking like more the Max Fried we knew versus the person who's been pretty much struggling pretty much through the middle of the summer there. Again, he got off to such a great start of the season there, but has been scuffling since. But maybe now, maybe he's finally coming back. And again, just at the right time as Yankees want to make this final push in September. So you look at his last 2 starts there, went 7 innings against the Nationals, 0 earned runs there, and of course had 6 innings against the Boston Red Sox. Now he took a hard luck 1-0 loss going up against Crochet there. Only surrendered 1 earned run there. So, in normal circumstances, you would win that game there. Of course, he won the Nationals game. The Yankees gave him plenty of run support. But again, that's 13 total innings of just surrendering 1 earned run. Only gave him up 8 hits there. So, still not enough for the litmus test to say he's fully back to his form there of early this season. Of course, they mentioned when he was kind of struggling, they weren't sure, was it the blister? Was he hurt? They said, no. It's just kind of a control thing. So, maybe that's the case. And, of course, that'd be good news for the Yankees there because, just when the Yankees were rolling in the beginning of the season, Max Fried was rolling. When Max Fried was struggling in the middle of the season, Yankees was struggling. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist that if the Yankees want to do some positives, they need Max Fried to kind of look like the Max Fried we saw back in April and May. And one of the more, successful Cashman pet projects has been Fernando Cruz. Because remember, they made the trade with the Reds in the offseason to bring him here. Again, always had a guy that had some swing and miss stuff, but he also had a higher ERA, is a little bit erratic. So, obviously the Yankees fine-tuned him a little bit. And actually, he's been quite a godsend for the Yankees. Of course, been down a couple of times with both shoulder and oblique injury. But since coming back again, rejoined the team, that was on August 26th against the Nationals. Since that point, at least here, he's had 4 appearances, and in total, he's been absolutely brilliant for the Yankees, going 4 1/3 inning. Within that, only surrendering 3 hits, no earned runs, no runs at all there, 6 strikeouts, and no walks there. So, just getting him back is almost like almost an additional arm, around the trade deadline. And it was a couple of weeks after the trade deadline. And of course, Cashman's had his hit, his misses. Overall, I gotta say, Cruz get definitely a hit for the Yankees. And a lot of uncertainty in the Yankee bullpen. Of course, Devin Williams, that problem with that, and beat that to death there. But even some of the new guys, Doval, Bednar, good overall there, but you still hold your breath a little bit. Even Luke Weaver, again, he's not as Luke Weaver. He's been good. Maybe not the Luke Weaver last season there. So you have a lot of uncertainty in the back end of the Yankee bullpen, but at least Cruz is not one of those people you worry about. In addition to Cruz coming back, Yankees also get some reinforcements, as I mentioned at the top of the episode. One of them being the lefty, Ryan Yarbrough. Of course, remember the Yankees picked him up during the offseason, kind of a last-minute move by Cashman there. And it was good for the Yankees there overall, and even at the point where they even put him in the starting rotation when the rotation was really in flux. So that's when the Yankees kind of had uncertainty with Stroman. Of course, Clark Schmidt goes down, needing Tommy John surgery there. Yarbrough kind of stepped in there in June, was good for the Yankees, but unfortunately getting hurt, and obviously needed to work his way back from the IL. Looks like he is back, so will be activated before the Houston series there. Now, at least Boone mentioned right now, they're going to use him out of the pen. I mean, I don't think you would put him back in the starting rotation. Not that he was terrible, but the Yankees pretty much set there with the 5 guys they got. You can make the argument, do you need to take Will Warren out? Has he been that great? No, but I think Will Warren there, you still at least want to give him some, you at least want to try him out because he has the stuff. He's young there, so you at least want to put him out there to try to see if he could kind of capture something there. Taking him out, what are you going to do with Will Warren? You're going to put him in the pen? No. Are you going to send him to AAA? No. So it doesn't make sense. So, unless something happens, someone gets hurt, or if you have a double header, a rain delay, some funky situation in September, maybe Yarbrough get a spots up, but he's exclusively pretty much going to be used out of the pen, and obviously that's another lefty weapon in addition to Tim Hill, who's again pretty much, I got to tip my hat, pretty much held up the whole season at age 34, 35, 36 there. You would figure at some point he would burn out, but he really hasn't for the Yankees there, so kind of surprising there. So, but now the Yankees will have another lefty option out of the pen, and in addition to that, you have Austin Slater, who the Yankees got during the trade deadline, because remember he tweaked his groin in Texas there. Now, look, I got to say, I thought he was done for the year. This is the way they said it was going to be 6 weeks for him. Looks like he'd come back a little quicker in that timetable, so okay, I was wrong there. I just thought we weren't going to hear from him again. But the only reason when they did get him, they mentioned that, of course, they got him, not that overall he's a good hitter, but he crushes left-handed pitching, and he gives us going to be a right-handed bat option for, in addition to Rosario, for Boone off the bench there. And, of course, he can play all three outfield positions. Now, again, I always wondered that the reason they bought him in, because it wasn't really a necessity, but I figured maybe that at the time they were worried about Judge's elbow, and that's kind of the reason they bought him in there. And that kind of makes me still worried that, they're not probably 100% confident in Judge's elbows, so he's going to get some playing time in right field. So he got 2 games in AAA under his belt. He did play some right field. Boone wants him to have 1 more game in AAA, and then from there, so probably sometime during the Houston series or maybe the Toronto series after that, he'll be activated and he'll be able to join the team there. And again, you don't expect much from him, but he could maybe be a pinch hitter there. He could spot start, again, at least play right field there and not have to put Aaron Judge out there. And he could spell also Stanton as well, who you don't want Stanton out there every day also. And because I mentioned before, maybe the jury's still out on Will Warren, but who you don't have to worry about, and at least you feel confident, near future for the Yankees, again, in terms of the starting rotation of some of the young guns. Of course, is Cam Schlittler, who, at first, you figured 1 or 2 is good starts. It's hard that you really can't make a judgment yet. But after 9 starts, you get a good idea this guy's probably going to be maybe in the rotation, at least in the near future, moving forward, because they don't move him some sort of off-field trade of that. And of course, Luis Gil coming back from his injury again. It took him a little longer to get here than he did. Now look, he has 6 starts under his belt. Has he been stupendous? No. But overall, you feel confident in him. He has a track record here. He was the American League Rookie of the Year last season there. You do feel good about him there. It's just, again, it has been stupendous since getting back. He's been decent there. But if you want to look at the numbers overall there, it's the case why you want to keep them in starting rotation. We never think about pulling them out in favor of someone like Ryan Yarbrough. So Cam Schlittler, right now, as we're looking at it, 2-2 record, ERA of 2.61, so he's pitching to an ERA under 3. That's rather impressive there. Again, 9 games, 9 starts there. But what you like is the strikeout stuff, the dominating stuff, the swingers miss stuff. 54 strikeouts in 48.1 in the 3rd inning there. So he's averaging more than a strikeout per inning. That's what you like from that type of a hard thrower there. And if you want to look overall, he's been, he's had so many, he's been, I'll say going deep into games there, but not someone the Yankees have to yank out of the 1st or 2nd inning, which we've seen a couple times with Will Warren there. So if you want to look at his 9 starts so far, since joining the team in the rotation since late July, only 1 time he pitched less than 5 innings, and that was against July 28th game against Tampa. He pitched 4 1/3 innings. So other than that, this guy at least gets you across the 5th inning or better. And only 1 time he gave up more than 2 earned runs, and that was again against the same game against Tampa there. He gave up 3 earned runs. So, giving up 3 earned runs in 4 1/3 inning, that's not great, but that's not like atrocious. It's only happened to him 1 time. Other than that, all the starts there, he's either gone 5 innings or better, or he's giving up 2 earned runs or less there. So, again, overall, doing a good job there. And, of course, more importantly, keeping the ball in the ballpark. So if you want to look at the entire month of July, now look, he didn't play the whole July there, so it's a little bit of an asterisk. But one of his starts against Seattle's first one, he did surrender a couple of home runs there. But other than that, he's keeping the ball in the ballpark. So only allowed 3 home runs in the month of July. And for the whole month of August, again, only allowed 3 home runs there. So dominating stuff, strikeout stuff there, and keeping the ball in the ballpark there. So you can understand why the Yankees were excited about him. And it kind of makes sense. That's kind of why you let Stroman walk and released him. I mean, Stroman is what he is there. If you have somebody like Cam Schlittler that you guys want to see where this young guy can go there versus, just hanging out with Stroman, which we know what he is there. And, of course, Will Warren, I don't say you give up on, again, as I mentioned before, I don't think you'll give up on totally yet there, but, again, he hasn't been as dominant, as impressive as Cam Schlittler is, and now turning things to Luis Gil since coming back from, again, his injury there. He's only had 6 starts for the Yankees right now, but he's sporting a 2-1 record, ERA 3.68, so the ERA is over 3, but less than 4. Okay, I think he can work on that right now. Only been 6 starts, so you don't want to beat it up out of him. But he hasn't really gone past 6 innings in any starts there, so he's not really giving you too much length in his starts there. But in terms of his strikeout stuff, his dominating stuff, pretty much on point where he is right now. So right now, 29.1/3 innings, has 29 strikeouts, so he's averaging about a strikeout per inning, which same as Cam Schlittler. If you're a dominating pitcher, that's kind of where you're at. So the strikeout stuff is there. It's just he's a little bit sloppy right now. He's also in those 29 innings issued 19 walks, which is kind of high there. You don't want to be doing that, as well as issuing 28 hits. So he's giving up just about a hit per inning. Again, a little sloppy there. Now, according to him, there, it's more of a sort of just trying to get his velocity there. He's kind of been trying to take a little bit off of velocity, so get a little bit of control. So he needs to kind of work those things out. But overall, like now, with Luis Gil and Cam Schlittler, you feel good about those 2 guys. You want to see them in there, and you just hope maybe as the 2 of them right now, maybe Schlittler's throwing the ball a little bit better there, but we know Luis Gil could do a little bit, so maybe if he gets the stuff under control there, and you have those 2 guys, you feel good about yourself, for the future of this rotation.